on the webinar. Again, thanks everybody for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at B&G and ConnectBooster, and today we have the pleasure of doing a co-branded webinar with our good friends at QuoteWerks. QuoteWerks is the market-leading, award-winning sales and quoting proposal solution in the IT channel. And today we're going to talk about how your MSP and IT firm can win more deals, attract more IT clients through a marquee quoting tool and solution like QuoteWerks. For those of you who are just hopping on, if you could go in the chat box and just chat with us and tell us that you can hear us okay and that everything is coming through. We obviously can't hear your computer because we're not where you are at, and would love just to make sure that everybody on the call can hear us today. So if you are on the call and everything is coming through, just go ahead and give us a quick chat and tell us that the feedback is good and that you can hear us. Okay. All right, great. Cliff says I can hear you okay. Kyle says everything's working out well. Ken said I can hear your team members pounding on the door behind you. All right, great. I think we're all set. Well, before we get started today, just a quick couple of housekeeping items, a couple of parking lot items. We will be recording this session, so you will be able to find it afterwards, not only with your team members at QuoteWerks, but also at ConnectBooster.com. So you will be able to see this and see this session later on. And it's also going to be posted and shared on our Twitter pages. So if you do find this relevant and you had a colleague or team member that could not make it today for whatever reason, just follow us at ConnectBooster and go to Twitter and certainly follow QuoteWerks. They're at QuoteWerks, QuoteWerks, RKS, I apologize. And at ConnectBooster is just at ConnectBooster on Twitter. So we'll be posting it on our different social streams as well as on our website. So, Brandon, we have been so excited to do this for so long with you guys. I swear it feels like years that we've been trying to get Brian on your team doing this with us. So thanks for making it happen. If we really want to get things done, we just call the marketing guys, right? And we just get things done. So I appreciate you taking the time and working with me on setting this up. We're super excited. And one of the big reasons that we're stoked to be doing this with you today is in the ConnectBooster land, you know, we work with hundreds and hundreds of IT clients and IT customers, MSPs in the channel, and they always ask us questions like, hey, what PSA would you guys recommend, or what quoting tool would you recommend, or how do you guys do this type of marketing effort or that type of sales effort? And we have good answers for them, but at the end of the day, we just figured we would dive in and show them through this webinar today. So Brandon, let's talk about you guys. We really want to answer the questions that we get a lot of from our ConnectBooster customers, which is, what is a great marquee quoting tool that we can use to make our lives easier, generate more revenue, and really position ourselves a lot better when we're quoting for managed service projects and time and materials projects. So without further ado, Brandon, I'm just going to go ahead and give you the presenter information. And I'll let you dive in and share with us what you've got today, share with us your slide deck, share with us your online demo, and then we'll get started and then wrap things up at the very end with a Q&A session and go from there.
All right, I appreciate that, Dave, and thanks for the introduction. For those of you that are not familiar, my name is Brandon Grant. I'm the marketing director here at QuoteWerks. I've been with QuoteWerks about 7 years. Started out in sales and moved over to marketing just recently. So today we're just going to kind of talk about how you can use a premier quoting tool, and in this case QuoteWerks, to win more deals and attract more clients. You know, when you send out quotes and proposals to your clients, that's an extension of your company. So you want to make sure that you're doing it first easily, and then also that they're going to look nice, that they look professional, that you have these uniform documents that you're sending out. So we'll be covering all that today, and we'll even going to go through a short demonstration at the end of the slide deck so you can actually see how QuoteWerks would work with possibly your CRM or PSA if you're using one. So we'll go on to the next slide here. We're just going to cover the outline. Basically, what is QuoteWerks? So a lot of you probably are not familiar with QuoteWerks or maybe have heard of it but not quite sure what it does. So we'll make sure to touch on those points today. Who uses it? That's a question we get a lot, is that a lot of users think that maybe they're too large or they're too small to actually need a quoting tool. We'll be able to show you that really any company of any size can use QuoteWerks. It's a very flexible piece of software that you can use. We're also going to go over how it's used, how it can actually save you time and money with specific points. So what that means is it's basically a tool that you can use to create customer-facing sales quotes and proposals. It's used by over 76,000 users in over 100 countries. The company's been around for about 20 years, so we have a lot of experience creating quotes and proposals and adding new features to the software. It's going to allow you to create these detailed professional quotes or proposals. You're going to be able to even track and report on that information, so you can kind of keep track of if your quotes are expiring. If you have clients that make payment via credit card, we do have our integration with ConnectBooster, which will allow you to receive payment through QuoteLA once the customer has electronically signed and it's signed off on the document. We also have templates and bundles and configurations just to kind of help you streamline the process even further, so you can make it very easy for your reps to just go in, create a document, and deliver it to the client. We do integrate with the most popular CRM and PSAs, specifically in the IT space. Autotask, ConnectWise, Salesforce, MS CRM, and even some of the other ones like Sugar and TigerPaw and Commit CRM. There's some integrations for those as well. So it's a very flexible tool. Like I said, it's used by literally thousands of users across the world. Who uses QuoteWerks? This is going to typically be anyone that creates line item documents. So if you create a line item quote or proposal, you can use QuoteWerks. It's not industry specific, but a lot of our features are tailored to the IT industry. So we do have a lot of MSPs and bars that use QuoteWerks in order to do have those integrate recurring revenue. So if you need to quote out recurring revenue to your clients, and you need to be able to show that, hey, this is going to be a monthly charge. Or proposals, because we're able to and then manually input it. Being able to deliver these uniform food sent that document, and you also want your reps and being able to track the customer interactions through Quote Valley. You're actually going to be able to see when a client views the document, and if they've if you have any that are expiring, you're going to be able to track all that directly in QuoteWerks. So you'll have one place where you can actually see all your sales information. Additionally, you're going to be able to report on all that data in QuoteWerks as well. So if you want to run management reports, you'll be able to see how many quotes have been, how many are open, how many have been created, how many are lost, how many were closed, the revenue that came in for that week or that month, that quarter, that year. If you want to compare reps against each other to see how one rep is selling against another rep, you'll be able to see that during specific time frames and even track quotas through there. So it's a very powerful, robust software that offers a lot of functionality for users. And then finally, you're actually going to be able to place orders with D&H, Tech Data, Ingram Micro, and Synex. So if you use one or any of those 4 distributors, you'll actually be able to place online orders directly from QuoteWerks through those distributors. We'll even be able to get the order status information, so when your client's asking for an update, you'll be able to go into QuoteWerks and see if the item has shipped, if a serial number has been attached to it, if there's a tracking number available, and you'll be able to share that with your client as well. We can then finish off the order by creating the purchase order in your accounting system. So if you're using QuickBooks or Sage 50, we can create the PO. If you want to use AutoTask or ConnectWise to manage your POs, we can even create the purchase orders in there with the line items as well. So you have a lot of options when you decide to use QuoteWerks.
Hey, Brandon, real quick, just want to confirm that everybody on the call can actually see Brandon's screen. You should be seeing what he is sharing via his PowerPoint and demo slides. So if you all could, just go in the discussion and chat and let us know if you can see what Brandon is sharing. I just got a little bit of piece of feedback.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you, Brandon.
Yeah,
Hold
absolutely.
On Nancy says I can see it. Cliff says I see initial screen. Yes, title screen, yep. Okay, so it looks like the majority of everybody can see what you're sharing with us, Brandon, so I think we're good to go.
Okay, great. For using QuoteWerks, we often get a lot of questions about, how does it work? What's the workflow for using the software? It's actually a very simple workflow. So we created the diagram just to kind of visually, so you can visualize what it's going to be or how it's used when you want to create documents inside of QuoteWerks. So initially you're going to be creating your document, delivering it, then purchasing, and then doing the fulfillment. So to dig down a little deeper, basically we're going to select the contact. If you're using your CRM or PSA, we're going to select that contact from your CRM or PSA that we integrate with. It's going to be a live lookup. You're not going to have to worry about running a sync or anything like that. We're just going to search in, if it's AutoTask or ConnectWise or Salesforce, we'll be able to look for a contact, pull them into QuoteWerks. Once you've done that, you can start building your document. You do that by selecting your products and services in QuoteWerks. We do have live links with the IT distributors, Tech Data, Ingram Micro, Synex, D&H, and there's a few others that we support as well. So you can actually look up in real time, get your pricing and availability from those distributors and pull that into QuoteWerks. Once you've created your document, you're ready to deliver that to the customer with your branded content. So this is where you're actually going to build the document, the customer-facing document. You can do a simple one-page quote. You can do a multiple-page proposal with attachments, including, if you have a service agreement or warranty information. It's going to be up to you exactly what that document looks like and what's delivered, but you're actually going to be able to choose that on a document-by-document basis. Once you've delivered it, customer accepts it, they can electronically sign off on it, and then this is where you can actually receive payment from the client. There is an integration with ConnectBooster, so if you are using ConnectBooster, you'll actually be able to have ConnectBooster receive the payment for you, but this will all flow through QuoteLA, so you'll actually be able to electronically deliver the document to the customer, track their interaction with the document, and then have the client sign off on the document and even make payment. Once the client has made payment, we're actually going to update your CRM opportunity or your PSA opportunity with the information. So if a client has ready to move forward with it and anything on the document has changed, we'll actually update the opportunity with anything that's changed, and we'll mark it as closed or won, and you can then do your normal processes through your CRM or your PSA as you typically would. As far as QuoteWerks goes, if you're going to do the ordering through us, the next step would be to just essentially check vendor pricing, make sure that it's still in stock, price is still good. This might be a good time to negotiate with your vendors, so you might actually be able to get yourself a better deal since you've already locked in your price with your client. You can then place the online order directly through QuoteWerks, like I said, if it's Tech Data, Ingram Micro, Synex, or D&H. And then also we'll create that PO in QuickBooks, Sage 50, Autotask, or ConnectWise with the line item information, and then you can even track all that information. So you'll be able to track the order status, see if it's been shipped, receive the serial numbers, tracking information, all that through there. So it's a very easy process, very easy software to use, but it offers a lot of functionality for creating those documents in QuoteWerks. If you have questions, we have a ton of resources on the website. We do have a lot of videos that will walk you through some of the specific features. We even have an overview video that's about 30 minutes long, and it'll show you just how to create a new document in QuoteWerks starting from scratch. We offer our help file for free. It's basically the user's manual of the software. So if there's a feature in QuoteWerks, it is in that help file. You can actually see exactly what's in there. We do offer live and recorded webinars as well, so you'll be able to see any previous webinars that we've done or any scheduled webinars. You'll actually be able to sign up for those and see those. If you want to interact with other QuoteWerks users, we do have a forum on the website, so you can go in there and ask other QuoteWerks users. We also have QuoteWerks partners that are in there that will help answer questions if you do have questions about that as well. And then we do offer email and phone support, so if you do have questions, give us a call, send us an email. We'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Awesome. Brandon, with that, let's launch into our first poll question. Does that sound good?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sweet. So the first poll question is, does your MSP, I should say is your MSP, currently use a quoting tool? Apologize for the bad grammar, but is your MSP currently using a quoting tool? Please select yes or no. Does your MSP currently use a quoting tool? Yes or no? We'll give everybody just a few more seconds. And it looks like about 70% say yes, and about the rest, 30%, say no. All right, so we will close that out. Brandon, it's all yours.
All right. So if any of you are new to QuoteWerks or haven't tried out QuoteWerks previously, we do have a free trial on the website. Just go to QuoteWerks.com. There's the download free trial button at the top. You can also just type in QuoteWerks.com/demo. It's a free 30-day trial. It is fully functional, so you can test out the integrations with your CRMs or PSA, as well as the accounting integrations. Test out the distributor integrations. Use the software. Try to send out some quotes and proposals and see if you have any questions. Our sales team's always happy to answer any questions for you, so you can reach us at sales@QuoteWerks.com, or you can give us a call at 407-248-1481, extension 2, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. So that's all I have for the slide deck. Now for the demonstration, I know a lot of you want to actually see, well, what does QuoteWerks look like? It's nice in theory being able to say this is how you use it, but can you actually show how to demonstrate the software? So that's what we're going to do first, is we're actually going to walk through creating a brand new document in QuoteWerks from scratch. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of PowerPoint here. So right now on my screen I have an example of an existing document. So this is one that I created, and you can see it just has a list of some of the items. It's a pretty straightforward view of the software where you can just see your hardware, in this case hardware, software, and optional items, kind of broken out into different sections using what we call heading lines. These heading lines can be whatever you'd like. I'm actually going to start with a blank quote so you can see how we would create it. In my case, I'm going to start with a template first, and by starting with the template, I have pre-populated information that I want to use. In this case, I already have my heading lines created so that I can then choose where I want my items to show up. Now, typically with a new document in QuoteWerks, we always recommend clicking on your Sold to Ship to tab, which is essentially your contact information from the CRM PSA, and pulling the contact information in first. This is where we want to start. For this demonstration, I'm integrated with Autotask. Like I said, we do support Autotask, ConnectWise, Salesforce, MSCRM, Sugar. There's 6 or 7 other CRMs and PSAs that we integrate with as well. So if you're using one of those, or you have a question about which ones we work with, go to our website and you'll see a full list there. Everything I'm showing you today is going to be very similar no matter which CRM or PSA system you use. The integration process is going to be very similar, where things are triggered off the contact that you select and when we save the document. So I'll point those out as we go along here. So to select a contact, we're going to, on our Sold to Ship to, simply click on our magnifying glass here, and this is going to bring up our Lookup Autotask Contact window. And you can see which fields are available to search by. Pretty straightforward. I'm going to go ahead and search for our company name, which is Aspire Technologies. And I'm going to search, it's going to return back any contacts associated with that company name. And then I can make my selection. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and select Joshua here. I'm going to pull him into my quote. Once I've pulled him into my quote, I'm ready to essentially move forward. That's all you really need to do is just get the contact information in there. The sold to is going to be your default fields in QuoteWerks. This is who we're going to create this opportunity for in this case, Autotask, but in whatever CRM or PSA you're using. So you do always want to make sure you fill out your contact. That's why we recommend starting there first. So we have our contact. We have our heading lines. We can now start adding items to our document. So any of you that are purchasing items from Tech Data, Ingram Micro, Synex, D&H, we're going to be able to pull those through the products here. And then you'll see at the top left we have a database called Eatalize. This Eatalize integration is where we're actually going to search for items from those distributors. You can search by pretty much anything. You can search by manufacturer part number, vendor part number, product description, keyword, however you want to do that. So in this case, I'm going to search by, let's do keyword here. So I'm just going to type in trip light switch. That's a pretty generic term. Going to return back a lot of results. In this case, it's going to return back, 295 items. So we need to narrow it down a little bit more than that. Well, using this Eatalize integration, we can really drill down to find the exact item we're looking for. So maybe I know, okay, I know it's a switch box that I'm looking for, so I'm going to go ahead and select that under my categories. And then under my product family, if I extend this, I can see that I'm looking for, I know I'm looking for Net Commander. That's the one that I've sold previously, so I'm going to go and choose Net Commander. That narrows it down to 11 items. That's going to make it a lot easier to find these specific items or the item I'm looking for. So once I have my item located here, I can then get my pricing and availability from the distributors by clicking on my real-time buttons. This little lightning bolt here will actually go out to the distributors using my account credentials, and it's going to get me my pricing and availability. So I can actually see in real time what the price is for this specific item. It's going to highlight in green my best cost. So in this case, Tech Data has the best cost. They have one in stock. That's what the little parentheses number shows. And you can even see the warehouse availability on the right-hand side. If I selected D&H, it would show me D&H's availability. Same thing with Synex and Ingram Micro. So I'm going to go ahead and source this item from Tech Data. To source it, it's going to be very simple. Simply double-click on it, and it's going to bring up our Add Item Assistant. The Add Item Assistant will allow us to make adjustments to this item before adding it to the document. So I can change my quantity using my up and down arrows. I can even change my price. If you guys use markups where you mark things up or mark items up from costs, we support that. Same thing if you say, we calculate our price based on profit margin. That's what I'm doing here is P10, just easy to remember as points or profit, saying, okay, we want a 10% profit margin. Maybe for this item we just want an 8% profit margin, so we're going to adjust it there. And you can see it'll recalculate our price. If I've ever sold this particular item to this specific customer, QuoteWerks will also check your price history for you. So you can actually see if you sold it to that customer, the quantity, the date, what the cost would have been, modifier. I haven't sold this item to that customer, so it's blank. But if I had, or as you start using QuoteWerks, you'll be able to see that information before you even add the item to the document.
Hey, Brandon.
Additionally, yes?
Just one question that came up actually a couple times. We have a couple MSPs asking, does that cost factor in shipping?
It does not. We would actually have shipping as a either a separate line item on the document or as it's kind of like a total cost on the document. So you can do shipping on an individual line item basis or on a document basis. It'll be up to you.
Cool. Great question. Thanks, everybody, for asking it.
So once we have our item, we're ready to add it to the document. So to add it to the document, we're going to click on our drop-down here. And this is where those heading lines are going to be very useful as a sales rep or as you're building this document. Not so much on the customer side, or it'll be helpful for the customer, but on your side, it'll be very helpful where you can say, I want this item, since it's a hardware item, to go under my hardware section, and you can move it right there. If you haven't saved your quote, you'll see that there is an autosave, so it's going to populate and just let you know that you need to save your document. Very useful in case you've been working on a document for a while, so you don't lose any work if you have a power outage or just something of that nature. So you'll also see there's a few other tabs available under this document or this specific item that we just added to the document. We have our accessories tab, which is going to show you a list of additional options that are included with this item that you can include on the document as well. So if you wanted to add, in this case, maybe we'll choose, we need a couple cables. We'll select the cable we want to add, get our pricing, same way we got it previously, and then you'll see the pricing availability. We can choose the best cost. In this case, Ingram has the best cost. Double click on it, and this will let us add it to our document in QuoteWerks. So it's going to give you a lot of flexibility when you add it to the item or when you're adding it to the document to show exactly what you want the client to see and exactly where we want this item to be displayed. So in this case, again, it's going to be hardware. Say we only need 2 of them to match, and we'll go ahead and add it to the document.
Awesome. Brandon, a couple more questions came through. If I could just interrupt you for a quick second.
Absolutely.
One of the questions was, does the real-time databases connect to Canadian distributors or American distributors?
Oh, that's a great question. It'll actually support both. So if you're using Tech Data, Ingram Micro, Synnex, or D&H in US or Canada, it'll support both. You can actually use both the integrations for that.
Great. And the other question was, and then we'll dive into a poll question here in a second too, Brandon. The other question from Jeff was, I'd like to see the pricing from CDW, Newegg, etc. Is that possible?
Yeah, actually it is. Just by clicking on the globe icon here, QuoteWerks will actually go out and check to see if pricing from CDW, Newegg, Dell, ProVantage, and Staples for that specific item exists. If it doesn't exist, it won't show it. If it does exist, it'll show up there. So you can see here, this is what ProVantage, Newegg, and CDW are selling that particular item for.
Awesome. And the other question that Kenneth had, this is a great one. Will your solution support PremierDell.com, so Premier Dell partners or resellers?
Yes, we actually have an integration with Dell. We're going to be able to pull in the like a Dell quote automatically into QuoteWerks, or you can actually use QuoteWerks to create the quote on Dell. That integration, we're essentially just waiting for Dell's approval, which we're hoping will be in the next couple of weeks. It's already written. We just need them to essentially give us the go-ahead. So yeah, we will have an integration for Dell users as well.
Awesome. And man, you guys are just on it today. Like our attendees, man, they got some good questions. So kudos to you guys. You must have had all of your Wheaties and your coffee before the webinar. Hey, let's dive into the second poll question, and then we'll get back to Brandon's presentation. And that poll question is, does your MSP currently have a process to automatically collect payments when sending out these quotes from your quoting tool? Yes or no? Does your MSP, does your IT firm currently have a process to automatically collect these payments when sending quotes from your quoting tool? Sending the quotes is one thing, but as a lot of you guys know, that doesn't get you paid, right? So the relevance of this question is really to find out, with ConnectBooster's integrations into QuoteWerks and multiple PSA platforms, like Brandon's been talking about, we want to make sure that you guys can not only send this out, but you have a good process to collect those payments when they come through. So I'll give everybody just a few more seconds. Does your MSP currently have a process to automatically collect payments when sending quotes from your quoting tool? Cue the cheesy inspirational music. I wish that was playing in the background while everybody was answering the question. Don't you, Brandon?
Yeah, I think if you want people to stay on the webinar, it's probably not the greatest idea.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Well said. Well said. That's why us marketing guys don't make good business decisions. All right, great. So I'll close the poll out, and it looks like about 19% of you said yes, and about 81% of you no. Oh, man, you guys need ConnectBooster. All right, this is great. So I'm going to hide this poll and go ahead and send it back to you, Brandon.
All right. So we've added the second item to our document. From here, you can build out your document as much as possible. Just wanted to show you kind of how you can pull items from the distributors. You can even compare items. So if you wanted to say, maybe you're not sure if which item is best for your client, you can even compare them in a compare window and actually show this to your client so that they can see kind of the differences between the items that you're quoting them. So it's going to be just another tool that you can use, another feature that you can use to kind of highlight which item the client might want to purchase or which one you might push them towards and why. They can actually see the differences between different items. So just another tool that you can use here with this product comparison window. You see that we do support the AutoTask product databases. So if you are using AutoTask or ConnectWise or Salesforce, we can actually link to those product databases. So if you already have your items set up in there, you don't want to have to import them into QuoteWerks or manage another database, not a problem. We can just link to those existing databases, and you'll be able to actually access them from QuoteWerks. You'll see here if I click on this AutoTask Services database and click Show All, this will actually go out to my demo AutoTask database, and it'll show me all the services that are available. And then I can even go ahead and select one or two items to pull into my document. So I'll select these two, add them to my services, and those will show up on my document.
Cool.
And then if you have any other items, if you wanted to set up your own database for those items, you can do that as well. So if we wanted to add just this one here, we'll add it just as an optional item on our document, and we can show it up there. So like I said, once you have your items already set up in QuoteWerks, or if you have them set up in another database, we can link to them so you're not having to do any kind of import. You're just going to only have to manage them in that one location. Maybe where you're currently managing them, or maybe you move them over to QuoteWerks. It's up to you. If you're only using the distributors, you won't need to manage any databases because we can just pull a live link from those distributors. So once we have our items on the document, you can make any changes that you need to. If you do have, if you need to change quantity, pricing, adjust your price modifiers, anything like that, you'll be able to do that here. Anything on this document item screen can be changed. You'll see in my description field, if I double click, I can actually see the entire item's description, and maybe I just want to shorten this a little bit. Don't want to show the customer or the client too much information, kind of overwhelm them. So I can actually go through here and just kind of shorten the descriptions as needed. Once you've made your changes, the connection to the CRM or your PSA, the integration all takes place on the save. So when I save my document, this is when it's going to prompt me to give it a document name. So just like if you're saving a Word document or Excel document, when you save it, it prompts you to give the document a name. That's what we're doing here. This is also where you'll see that integration. So if you're using ConnectWise inside AutoTask, you'll see the ConnectWise integration points here. Same thing with Salesforce or MSCRM or any of the other ones that we support. So in this case, we're just going to call this our trip light switch example, give it a name, and then QuoteWerks will automatically apply the document number for you. So we're going to keep track of your document number so you don't have to worry about that. We're then going to prompt you to create that opportunity in your CRM or PSA. So here you can actually put in the opportunity name. It's going to by default use the document name, but you can change that if you'd like. Set the owner, stage, status, and whatever other fields are going to be available for you. And then simply hit save. That'll then create that opportunity in your CRM or PSA. So now this is where we were talking about earlier, is having that important sales data that's in QuoteWerks being automatically transferred over to your CRM or PSA. And you don't have to do anything. You're not having to log into the system, create the opportunity, write the line items over. We're doing that automatically through our integration with those CRMs or PSAs. All you have to do is save it, which you're going to do anyway since you have to deliver it to the document or deliver the document to the client. So you're going to save a lot of time just by not having to enter that data in. And the best part is it's all going to be accurate. You're not going to have to worry about someone mistyping information or forgetting to put a cost in or anything like that. All that information will flow over seamlessly.
Great. Brandon, let's dive into one of the last poll questions that we have, and then I've got a handful of questions coming in fast and furious. So again, these guys are our attendees are super attentive today and asking good questions. So I do want to get to those before we end up having like 35 questions before the end of the webinar. So let's launch the poll question if that's okay with you. Poll question: what PSA or CRM does your IT company currently use? What PSA or CRM does your IT company currently use? ConnectWise, AutoTask, Salesforce, TigerPaw, or you are drowning in spreadsheets? Please help me. So I'll give everybody just a few seconds to answer that poll, and I'll share the results here in a minute. And then, Brandon, I've got a couple questions for you that we'll dive into as well from the attendees.
Sounds perfect.
All right. So the final question, what PSA or CRM does your IT company currently use? Looks like the majority of everybody is going to be using ConnectWise, with everybody beyond that using a mixture of Autotask, Salesforce, and we have a couple of MSPs that are drowning. So we will definitely try to help you guys out there. But let's get to some of the questions as well, if we could, Brandon. One of the questions that we have from Kenneth is, does the software integrate into QuickBooks or with QuickBooks, right? So if we're talking about the payments portion of this, does your tool integrate with QuickBooks?
Yes, we actually have a very strong integration with QuickBooks. Essentially, any document that's created in QuoteWerks can be sent to QuickBooks as an estimate, sales order, or invoice. We'll also write the line items over from QuoteWerks to QuickBooks for you. And if those items don't exist in QuickBooks, we'll create those for you as well. If you received payment from your client, we'll also include the payment information into QuickBooks. That'll flow over to it as well.
Cool. The other question we had is, let's see here. If we have ConnectWise, is it better to manage the database in ConnectWise or QuoteWerks or ConnectWise?
That's a very good question. There's not a right or wrong answer for that. It's essentially what works best for you. I know ConnectWise does not have the ability to store recurring items in their product database. And in QuoteWerks, we do. We can actually, if you offer services that are monthly or quarterly or annual, you can actually have those set up in QuoteWerks. So you might actually have both. You might have, you just keep your simple one-time purchased items. They're already set up in ConnectWise, so you just want to keep them there. And then maybe you set up your services in QuoteWerks. That way you can pull them in whenever you need to quote them or create a proposal with them in your document. So there's not a right or a wrong. It just kind of depends on what you would need. But hopefully that answered your question.
All right. One of the other questions from Kyle, and this is a good one. Once you're finished with a product quote, can you demonstrate that in an annual reoccurring service or licensing quote?
Yeah, actually in this document here, if you look at the bottom, we actually have recurring monthly charges and quarterly charges already on the document. So actually the next step is going to be showing you what it would look like if we were to send this to a client.
Okay, perfect. That's awesome. And then the last question from Kyle as well is, can it automatically generate these quotes and collect payments with ConnectBooster on a schedule?
We wouldn't actually automatically create the quote for you. However, because we do track the contract dates, you could essentially run a report like every month and see which clients are coming up for renewal and then create a quote based on that. And for most of our customers that do that, they basically just create a template for their renewal services and they just load from a template.
Gotcha. And on the ConnectBooster end, once they schedule a payment which is driven from the contract inside of ConnectWise or Autotask, it automatically collects either from ACH or credit card every month. So once you've created that quote or proposal inside of QuoteWerks, and that syncs up with your PSA tool, the integration, the payments integration that we have is so smart that it automatically will pull out that payment from your IT clients on that schedule every month. And you can set it for whatever date that you want every month, the 1st, the 15th, the 30th, whatever that might be. Again, that's all driven from the contract data inside of your accounting package or your PSA. So it's pretty straightforward. All right, Brandon, any other thoughts before we give it back to you?
No, that sounds good.
Great. Go ahead, sir.
All right, so we've saved our document. We've sent over our important sales data to the CRM or the PSA. We're now ready to deliver it to the client. So we're going to click on our deliver icon. So this is where we're going to choose the output that the client is going to receive from you. As you can see, I have quite a few different layouts in my installation. You'll probably just have a couple that you use or the major ones that you use. But basically, you're just going to kind of go through the tabs. You're going to select a cover page if you want to include one. Maybe it's an existing client. You're just purchasing a couple basic hardware items. You don't need to include a cover page. It's going to be a simple quote. Then you don't need to include one. If you do want to include one, then you can choose from the drop-down that you've created and choose which template or which cover page you want to use. All the cover pages can have QuoteWerks macros in them. That way they'll pull information from the document itself, which I'll show you here in a minute. The layout is going to be kind of like the actual items from the document. This is going to show you the client the line items that they selected and the pricing information. Again, this is going to be fully customizable. I'll show you one example. If you want to see some other ones at the end of the webinar, we can cover those too. But this will just be one of essentially thousands of different combinations you can do in the software. Your literature documentation will typically be your documentation that you need to send out with every quote or proposal. So if you have a service contract, warranty information, terms and conditions, anything that you want to send out as a separate document, as kind of in the quote or proposal, you can attach it here. If you have any more technical information that you want to include, we can attach it as a spec sheet. And then the links tab, which we hadn't talked about on QuoteWerks yet, but the links tab will allow you to attach additional documentation. So if you have kind of like a one-off document, maybe you have like a CAD drawing that you want to include, or like maybe you have like a PowerPoint presentation that you're including with your proposal that goes over everything that you're including. This is how you can also attach those other files, so that when you're sending out the email, we're just sending out one email with everything that the client needs there, so they're not getting 3 or 4 different emails. If it's a Word document or a PDF document, we'll merge everything into a single Word document for the client. So let's go ahead and preview this before we actually send it to the client. I'm just going to resize this so it's a little easier for you guys to see. And again, this is just one example. You can make these really look however you'd like. So we just have kind of a simple cover page with our client's information, so who's prepared for, and the document number. We have our logo on here. Then we have our executive summary information, so we just have their contact information and then some information, thanking them for review. If they have any questions, let us know. Then we have our signature information here. And then we get into the actual items of the documents. We actually have where the client can select, or where they can see the specific items that they're purchasing. And then on the last page, we'll actually have the sign-off form here where they can see the total and they can sign off on the document itself. So it's going to add a lot of flexibility. Like I said, you're going to have complete control over what the client receives from you, what you want them to see when you've delivered the document. If we sent this document as is, even though it's 4 pages, we're going to send it as a single PDF to the client. So everything looks good, so we're ready to send it to the client. So we're going to go ahead and close out of the preview, and we're going to click on Upload to Quote Valet. This is how we deliver the document to the client. So this is when we're actually ready to send it to them. We're going to go ahead and choose Upload to Quote Valet. And then this is going to upload your document to Quote Valet so we can actually see what it's going to look like before we send it to them. So that's what our preview is going to be here. So we can click on our preview window, and then you can actually see an example of what the client would see. And this is going to be that tracked page. So every time the client views the quote, you'll actually be able to see that. The first time they view it, we'll even send you an email notifying you that they viewed the document. Down here is going to be the PDF version of the document. So if the client hadn't viewed that, or maybe there's a contract that they need to sign off on, they can actually view that information here. And then down below, you'll see this is the line item details from the document, so you can actually see the line item information. This is where the document can be truly dynamic, is you can actually set it up where the items could be optional, so the client can choose a checkbox. They can check or uncheck items. They can change the quantity if you want to give them the ability to do that. You can even do mutually exclusive groups. So if you want to give them the option to choose like a good, better, best option with radial buttons, you can do that as well. So it's going to have a lot of flexibility for them. If you do any kind of lease payments, you can even set it up where they can choose a lease payment option here under your payment options. I don't have mine set up that way, but that is an option. And then the client can actually accept and make payment on it. So if they went in here and they confirmed that they're ready to move forward, and they sign off on this document, they can actually accept this document online. And then this is where, if you are using a payment gateway, if you're using the ConnectBooster integration, this will bring them to the acceptance screen, and then when they click on the Pay Now button, this will just bring them to a regular payment screen where they can actually make that payment. And that's where that integration with ConnectBooster comes in, where they can actually, that payment is going to go through ConnectBooster once they've electronically signed off on that document. On the QuoteWerks side of things, once the client has signed off on the document, QuoteWerks will prompt you to convert that quote to an order. It's basically how we close the quote in QuoteWerks, And when that's done, it's actually going to update and let you know, hey, this was accepted through Quote Valet. We want to convert this quote to an order, and then we can convert it to an order. And when we do that, we're actually going to update your opportunity in your CRM or your PSA automatically. So in this case, AutoTask, but works the same way for ConnectWise and Salesforce and CRM. And it'll actually let you update that AutoTask opportunity or whichever CRM you're using. And we can even change the stage if we wanted to, and click Save, and that'll update it. So if anything had changed in the opportunity, if any of the items were no longer there, or the client deselected an optional item, it would actually update that opportunity for you. And then from there, you can move on to the purchasing side through QuoteWerks, where you can actually place the electronic orders. We could do an entire webinar just on the purchasing, so I'm not going to go through that. But if you are interested in learning more about the purchasing side through QuoteWerks, we do have videos on the website, or we'll be happy to answer questions after the webinar as well. So that's pretty much it from start to finish. I'm not sure if you had any other questions, Dave, or if there's anything else that you wanted to see today.
I do have lots of questions, so let's dive in. And thanks, Brandon, for the great presentation. I think there's a lot of value, obviously, into really developing a process that allows MSPs to send out proposals and quotes, and then as well as using the PSA integration to leverage the payments processing component through ConnectBooster and how all that works. So if I was in front of you, and I'd give you a high five and clap for you, but I'm not. So let's dive into some of the questions. One of the questions that we have is, let's see, other CRMs that does both IT services, break fix, recurring, somebody who does audio, video. Is there a CRM or a PSA that might be a little bit more user-friendly? So in your experience, Brandon, ConnectWise, AutoTask, TigerPod, they work pretty well for both IT companies, whether they're recurring, break fix, and even ones who sell different services, right?
Yeah, all three of those, are good choices for that type. We have a lot of clients that use all three. They all have their strengths. They all have their differences. If you're looking for a specific feature, that might be the best way to go. If you don't need all the qualities that they have, some of the smaller CRMs, there's one called Commit CRM that wrote integration in QuoteWerks. They have some of that basic functionality. They're designed for, a little more streamlined approach.
Good to know. One of the other questions that we had was, it looks like they have their IT clients read and sign a yearly contract when they start service with them. Do you have a feature to send that contract with the quote, as well as one the client can read and electronically sign?
Yeah, absolutely. You would just use Quote Valet for that. So when we get ready to deliver the document to the client, we actually can attach that contract to the document that's being delivered to the client, and then when the client's signing off on the Quote Valet document, there's a checkbox that actually says, hey, you're agreeing to all the terms and conditions, everything that's attached in that PDF that we delivered. So they'll actually be able to get a copy of everything, they'll sign off on it, and once they do electronically sign off on it, we actually take a copy of everything that they signed off on, the version of the PDF, screenshots of Quote Valet, and we send a copy to the client and we send a copy to you, so both of you have copies of everything. Everything's very straightforward about what was agreed to, and you'll get time and date stamps, IP address stamps, the email address that was used. All that information will be accessible to you.
Outstanding. Hashtag Quote Valet, right?
Exactly.
All right. One of the other questions is there a payments processing fee when clients pay by credit card using the Quote Valet function?
That's a great question. QuoteWerks does not take a percentage. So, if whatever your amount is with your payment gateway, we're not taking an extra percent. We don't charge an extra 2% to use Quote Valet, the payment processing. It's included with your Quote Valet subscription.
Gotcha. That's a great question, a great answer. And just so everybody knows, we are kind of finishing up with the webinar, so if you do have additional questions, get them in the next 30 seconds to a minute or so, and we'll try to answer them as fast as we can. If we don't, Brandon and I are certainly available. Our contact details will be sent out post-webinar with the recorded webinar as well. One of the other questions that we had was if they have multiple Quote Valet landing page templates. It sounds like they have multiple landing page templates, one for credit card payments, another to request a check. For the larger, more trusted IT clients, it sounds like this MSP prefers check to avoid a transaction fee, but they don't want to necessarily encourage credit cards. So I'm not sure what the question is, but maybe you could speak to that a little bit, Brandon, if that makes sense.
Sure. In QuoteWerks, if you'd rather your client pay by check instead of credit card, you can actually essentially turn off the ability to pay by credit card in QuoteWerks by changing the deposit required field. If you change this to no deposit required, that Pay Now button will disappear from the ordering screen. So once the client accepts the quote, it'll just bring them to the ordering screen, and then you'll get the notification that they accepted the quote, and then you can follow up with them, let them know how to make payment, or it could even just be defaulted where it has a splash screen of, hey, send check payments here if you wanted to. But you can actually remove that payment screen essentially, or that payment option on a quote-by-quote basis just by changing the deposit amount.
Gotcha. So if they're requesting by check, does it come out ACH, or does the IT client get an email with a link embedded and they click on that link and then pay it in some other method?
If they want to pay by check, we're not actually going to take the check online. We'll just say, hey, the client accepted the document, ready to move forward. You'll get the notification that they accepted it, and you can do your normal follow-up. You can send them an invoice. That's what a lot of the bigger clients need. They actually need an actual invoice to make payments. So that's probably what they're talking about.
Gotcha. Yeah, and that's what I was thinking too. I was just unsure whether you take the check online or not. One of the things I would just add to that too is, I don't know, I completely understand the methodology of not wanting to pay a credit card processing fee or some sort of payments processing fee when taking a check, but why would you want to wait for your money when you can get it instantly or within a 24 to 48-hour period, assuming it clears through the credit card or ACH methodology? So just something to think about. I used to own an agency, marketing agency based in Minnesota in the Twin Cities and St. Paul area, and we had tons of outstanding AR because we sent out paper checks. And had we, as a marketing firm, been able to use a software tool through a PSA integration like ConnectBooster or just an automated payments processing tool in general, oh my gosh, some of the pain that it would have eliminated. So just a food for thought as we're talking about how to get payments through the quoting tool as well. All right, let's see. One of the other ones, can the payment option include a current financial/inventory system? Great question.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that one more time?
Yep, Irene asked the question, can the payment option include a current financial/inventory system? Does that make sense, Brandon? It may not.
Yeah, I'm actually not sure I follow that one.
Okay, no worries. We can certainly reach out to Irene afterwards. One of the other questions is, do we have to use Quote Valet in order to integrate with ConnectBooster for the payment component?
Yes, you would. That's how the integration works, is directly through that piece. So without Quote Valet, we can't accept payments. So the integration is definitely between Quote Valet and ConnectBooster that way.
Gotcha. That makes perfect sense. If any other questions, if anybody else has any additional questions for Brandon or myself, feel free to reach out to us. We will be sharing our contact info post-webinar as well as the recording. So if you have a colleague or a coworker that you thought this was relevant for, feel free to share it with them when we send it out to you. As well as we will be sharing it on our social streams too. So if you found it relevant and you liked what you saw today, go to Twitter, give us a follow at ConnectBooster, at QuoteWerks, where we'll also be sharing this, and stay tuned for more relevant information as well. Brandon, this has been wonderful. Like I said earlier, we were so stoked to finally get this on the calendar and take the next steps and do it. Now that it's done, I feel a little empty inside, but to be honest with you, it's a good empty. We're so excited to be able to do this for not only our benefit, but for our MSP customers who were really asking us on the ConnectBooster side, hey, who would you recommend for a good quoting tool that integrates into AutoTask and ConnectWise and other PSAs. So thanks again for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having us. We're excited to do it as well, and we appreciate you guys letting us borrow some of your time today.
Yeah, thanks everybody for attending. Brandon, any final thoughts before we take off, before the end of the day?
No, again, thanks everyone for attending today. If you do have questions about QuoteWerks, definitely go to the website, download the free trial. Give us a call. We'll be happy to take any questions or answer anything for you that you have.
Great. Well, with that being said, thanks everyone for attending today. We really appreciate the time, and again, go out and make it happen and be encouraged. You're doing great things. Thanks for joining us today on the webinar. We'll be sending out everything afterwards. And Brandon, thanks again. We'll talk soon.
Have a good one.